Welcome back from the break. We are back with more pivotal change and tonight's next guest. I'm very excited to introduce everyone to Ryan Herpin. He is the owner of Impact Strategies Consulting, and he is a fantastic operations leader, leadership development, and he really comes in there and he helps construct the path forward for your companies and develop people to make sure that, well, your results are non-negotiable. So he wants to make it that way and let you achieve your results. So Ryan, thank you for coming on the show, sir.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be here.
And, well, Ryan, what I like to do is, other than recognize that you have probably the best name in the United States, is I like to move forward and I like to go and jump straight into the questions because we are always bound by the commercial breaks. And I want to ask you just straight up front about operational strategies. So our listeners watch this show, if they listen to what I say, with a pen and paper. So hopefully what you say will get captured more than just in a digital footprint. But on operational strategies, tell us some of the key ones that people need to implement so they can achieve that long-term success.
Perfect. Achieving long-term success requires leaders to prioritize continuous improvement, set clear performance metrics, and build a culture of accountability. Regularly reviewing and optimizing processes really ensures agility, right? Allowing the company to adapt to change without losing momentum. Leaders should also encourage innovation where teams feel empowered to explore new ideas, helping the business remain competitive and resilient.
Ooh, I like that. I like what you said about agility. So I'm a big time, long time athlete. I'm a coach of a wrestling team. So agility is important. And I tell my kids, hey, look, if you are strong, good for you, you'll have some success. If you have some really great technique, you'll have some success. But if you're agile and have the ability to adapt and reflect on yourself, you're going to have that long term and a higher level of success. So I'm going to spin off this a little bit here. Tell me more about adaptation. When you say adaptation, what do business leaders need to be considering when they're looking for adaptation?
So to be adaptable, you've got to have an open mindset and be completely prepared to make fast-paced changes. When a challenge arises, if you're so focused and living in chaos, there's no way you can jump back to 10,000 feet, look at the picture overall, and make appropriate changes that are not just haphazard, right? Agility is having a team with a mindset of problem, okay, let's start looking at solution and implementation now.
I like that. I like that a lot. So a little bit of having your head on a swivel. Going back to kind of your first response, one thing that I always tell people is once you become satisfied with yourself, you stop improving. And I don't mean satisfied with, you've come a long way, you've done a good job, but you just meander, you become complacent. And so being adaptable, looking for change, and then grabbing a hold of that problem and moving forward with initiative, that's fantastic advice. So talking about some of that initiative and some of that development and change, how can a company then kind of ensure that their leadership development side of it is aligned with that overall goal, that overall sustainability?
Leadership development must start with a deep understanding of the company's core mission and vision. By training leaders to embody and advocate for these foundational goals, companies create alignment between leadership and strategy. Development programs should be tailored, focusing on skills that address current challenges and equip leaders to drive future growth, ensuring that the company evolves. Its leaders are well prepared to guide that progression.
Okay, so driving future growth, making sure you have that mindset. I heard you mention getting aligned with the vision. I love that.
Mhm.
I preach mission and vision and core values all the time. So you are definitely speaking my language. And so again, that driving growth, we're not trying to, hey, we've made it. Let's just hold what we got and settle. We're always looking to increase and improve. I
Mhm.
love that. You're hitting a really good chord with me. So kind of in that organizational structure where you're setting up the initiative and the growth, streamlining process is going to be important. Boosting profitability is always nice over time. What are you going to say is what are a couple of key organizational structures you need to have in place to capture that mindset and get to that profitability and that streamlining of processes?
So, in effective structure, it clarifies roles, reduces redundancies, and enables quicker decision making, which all contribute to higher productivity. By organizing teams based on workflow and expertise, companies can eliminate bottlenecks and foster collaboration. This streamlined approach not only improves efficiency, but also reduces cost, directly boosting profitability.
Okay, so this is really good. So reducing redundancies. When you are looking for redundancies, you have to do exactly that. You have to be examining yourself on a regular basis. Is that kind of something I'm hearing you echo?
Yes, definitely. It's constant review and reflection.
Gotcha. So we want to fight the I finally arrived mentality to where we become complacent. Good. Okay, I like this, Ryan. Again, you're hitting the nail on the head. So let's talk about maybe some balance. So if a business owner feels like they're kind of pursuing that revenue growth and they're always driving for initiative and change, can we sometimes get out of alignment and get unhealthy in changing for the sake of change or changing too often? And then what does that do to our work-life balance in our teams with morale?
So this is such a good question, and it's something that comes up a lot for me. The key is creating boundaries and setting realistic expectations. Leaders should build systems that drive productivity without relying on those extended hours, like prioritizing automation for repetitive tasks and delegating efficiently. By fostering a culture that values efficiency and well-being, business owners can pursue growth without compromising the health and balance of their team, and that ultimately helps achieve that sustainable success.
Gotcha. So the health and well-being of the team, I think, is absolutely fantastic. So tell me, if you find yourself where employees are more disgruntled, people are calling in sick at a really high level, maybe there's some pretty frequent turnover. What is that? Those are symptoms. What is that telling the business owner if they're doing the self-reflection that you're saying? I have these negative symptoms. What might be going on?
So a really good thing to look at is the overall atmosphere. If you've got a lot of people that are not, if you don't see camaraderie in your business, that's a huge red flag. It really truly is, because a well-defined business should operate a lot like a family, right? And the leader really operates as the parent. Your job is to pay attention to the success of your team and really genuinely care about their well-being. So if you feel it, really statistically, if you just see the data start changing, people calling out, those types of things, you've got to be ready to make adjustments and maybe have a meeting with everyone saying, hey, I notice you. I recognize your labors. Let's take a step back, take a deep breath, and find a better way to do this.
Okay, I like this a lot. So taking a step back, catching your breath, we call that a tactical pause in my old line of work. And so I really like calling everyone in the room, and you're basically naming the problem. Hey, I recognize your labors. I recognize that we're stressed out right now, and hopefully there's a promise or an example or an opportunity for change and improvement. And do you think that falls back to lining everyone with the vision? The reason we're grinding so hard in this moment or we're suffering right now is because we're at the hump of achieving this goal. Does that remotivate people? Does that help draw people back in alignment, or does that seem like false promises? Expand on that a little.
So, with every business I have ever worked with, consistent results come with transparency. And that also significantly impacts the employee engagement and the work-life balance. If the entire entity can see the same vision, the same goals, and see the progress towards those, it can maintain momentum and motivation. So it is definitely key to have that transparency and not allow yourself to get too focused on results, results, results.
Hmm.
If your team's struggling, those results are going to fall off.
I got you. Okay, I like transparency. I'm big on transparency. So let's dial in the transparency of maybe the atmosphere, but the transparency of the leader. As a leader, is it healthy? Is it okay for me to step up and say, hey guys, I made a mistake. I'm human. I screwed up, but here's the way I want to fix it? Or should a leader just try to eat it and move on and make corrections? Which one do you find is better for culture, morale, and ultimately the followers?
So that's so important to really understand, because we are all human. We are all people. As a leader, yes, you have to be strong, you have to be the foundation of the business, but ultimately you have a team that you're not just supporting, they're supporting you. That transparency and that in admitting to struggle or mistakes or whatever it may be is only going to build trust relationship with your team. When you have a team that sees you're human and feels your pain, they'll go to bat for you every single time. You'll get a different level of motivation when they can really stand behind their leader. It's the difference between a leader and a boss. Not barking orders, but leading by example and admitting to your faults and your own struggles.
I like that. Thank you for pointing out the difference between a leader and a boss. That's something that comes up, and I think there's a difference between a leader and a manager as well. And I think if we start to understand that the human component is what separates us from a boss or a manager, and then into a leader, that's what draws us in there together. And if you're open to admitting your mistakes, you're not the tyrant in the ivory tower that's somehow
Yep.
seen to be impervious to error or correction, and you can now own your situation. And what does that make us think? We're going to probably be cared for, genuinely cared for by our leader, because he sees that we're going to make a mistake too, and that if I forgive him, he might forgive me. We can build, you said the word camaraderie earlier.
Hmm.
Does this start to put dominoes in a line where they knock down to what is ultimately a pretty picture of success?
Yes, I would say it is one of the most critical aspects of long-term success in a business. Eh, The business is only as good or as strong as its people. The business cannot operate without its people. So if you don't have that level of trust, respect, and care for each other, it can't work. It won't. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And the house is the people. The business is just the avenue that they can grow, develop, and become the best version of themselves.
Oh, I think that's beautiful, and that's actually a great place for me to jump in and hit us for our next commercial break. But we're going to be back with more Ryan, and we're going to have a continuing conversation about this business leadership and these in-depth conversations about what gets you to that long-term success. So everyone, sit tight. We'll be right back with our final session of the night on Pivotal Change.